What's up, guys? My name is Hutch, and with me as always, actually, it's not even as always because we just started doing this now, but if you're listening to this in the future, then this will have applied. But with me right now is Active Bunny Fufu, or Bunny, or Gio.
What's going on, guys?
And we are your co-hosts for this podcast, which is entitled Podcast and Chill. We want to be clear that this is a movie podcast, but we still... if we end up talking about video games, comics, whatever, TV shows, then that's totally fine too. But the focus of the podcast is on movies. And this is something that I personally have been thinking about doing for a while. And then you and I had gotten into these sort of exchanges. I think I remember the last one we got into, we were talking about whether or not the Wolverine sequel was overrated or not. You were in the camp of it not being that great because of the wacky robot samurai at the end.
I was appalled by that ending.
Right. We can talk about that, but I've been looking for people that share the same kind of like enthusiasm for movies, and I always see you talking about seeing movies and watching shows and stuff like that. So I hit you up and asked you if you wanted to do something like this.
And it was honestly a great idea because I've always wanted an outlet to talk about other stuff other than just video games, you know? Because I mean, on stream and my YouTube channel, that's all I do is play video games and talk about video games, really. So it's nice to have somewhere else I can talk about comic books or just movies in general, things like that.
What is your history with movies? That sounds like kind of a weird question. Like I'm a fanatic. Like I watch literally 1 to 2 movies every day, sometimes 3, sometimes 4.
Yeah,
like depending on the day. That's not normal, you know. So like, where did you find your enthusiasm for film?
It was definitely my grandfather because he was really, really big into movies, and that was part of his business. He would travel to shows like MegaCon and DragonCon and things like that, and he would sell movies basically, and he made really good money off of it. And that's where I really just got my love for him because we'd always watch movies. We would sit down and watch movies together. And he was a huge Alfred Hitchcock fan. So I'm a huge Alfred Hitchcock fan now, and things like that. And I just always liked the world, you know, of movies where, you know, the whole narrative of different stories and worlds and things like that. The same reason I like video games as well.
It's really, you know, books are great, obviously, but it's really hard to capture like the magic of a movie. Like some of my fondest memories growing up were movies. I saw Jurassic Park in theaters on opening night. I remember to this day the line being so long that it wrapped around the movie 3 times. Jeez. I don't know how that's possible. When I look at movie theaters now, I don't know how they fit that many people in there. Like I remember my dad fighting for my right to go see Terminator 2 with the rest of the family because I was only 12 or 13 when it came out, and I was crying. I was crying because my mom told me I couldn't go. You know, there's just countless stories like that for me. I've always just loved movies.
What was your first rated R movie
that I saw in theaters?
Yeah.
I think that would either be was The Abyss rated R from James Cameron?
I think so, actually.
It might have been
PG-13. Hold on, we have the power of the internet right here.
I don't want to clank on my my keyboard while we're recording this, but if that's R, then it was that, or if it wasn't that, then it was Dances with Wolves. And I got so scared when I saw that in theaters. The scenes where the guy who eats lots of hard-boiled eggs gets shot with a bunch of arrows. I was bawling my eyes out as a kid.
That was such a good movie.
Really confused. Like, why would people do that? And, but yeah, I mean, I've always had a really substantial love for movies, and I'm super stoked to finally get to do a podcast like this. You know what? Truthfully, I listened to I want to give a shout out because I listened to a podcast by these guys called it's by a guy called Mr. Sunday Movies, but the podcast is called The Weekly Planet. And I'm a really enthusiastic listener of theirs, and I listened to them having so much fun with it. I was like, we got to do something like that, man.
You know, I haven't really even listened to a lot of podcasts, I'll be completely honest. I've never had the time, but since I started traveling so much, I've started, and they are some of the best things ever. Like, I listen to more than music now, honestly, at this point.
I love podcasts. I've been a huge like gaming podcast fan for a long time. Back when 1UP was still a thing, and I still listen to IGN's podcast, and there's like Joe Rogan's got a really great one too. There's a lot of good stuff to choose from, and if you're someone that lives in a big city and you utilize transit a lot, that's also a good time to podcast.
I bet.
Yeah. But our history isn't so much in movies, that's probably not why people know us. If there are people listening to this right now that don't know who we are, maybe it's a good time, like, for our inaugural episode to sort of discuss like who we are and what we do. I'll shoot it over to you. You kick off this conversation.
Okay, I am Active Bunny Fufu, known on the internet, but my real name is Giovanni. I'm a full-time streamer. I used to be a full-time YouTuber and full-time streamer, but I cut out YouTube pretty much almost entirely, and now I just focus on Twitch, and I like long walks on the beach.
It's really hard.
It's really hard. Comic books.
It's really hard to do both without any help. Like I see some people do YouTube and Twitch full time, like really full time, without any help, without producers or editors or anything like that. And I don't know how they have the energy.
It wasn't
to do
too
that.
long, like a year and a half ago. I was a full-time YouTuber, a full-time streamer, and I was working for Brennan. I was controlling his Let's Play channel. I was editing his videos and uploading for him as well as running my own channel and streaming. And it got to the point where I wasn't sleeping. I was sleeping for like 4 hours, maybe. Yeah, and then streaming for 8+ hours and things like that. It got really, really unhealthy for me.
Yeah, I can't do that anymore. If I don't get at least 6 hours of sleep, it's not fun. Like I barely got 6 hours and I'm kind of struggling right now, but I can get through. But yeah,
I'm the same way. It got really bad.
I'm turning 32 though, man. That's feeling old. I'm feeling it. My body, like I can feel. Like, if I don't get enough sleep, like I really feel it, and that wasn't the case not 5 years ago.
Honestly, it's weird to say. I'm way younger than you, but I am actually feeling that. Like I feel like I've pushed my body so hard with streaming and the amount of hours I stream daily that I think my body's just rejecting my idea of all this and staying up for so long and getting so little sleep and things like that I had to make some changes.
Yeah, your body will drop the hammer eventually.
Yeah,
your body
really
will tell you to sit the fuck down. I got into this racket in 2008, so that was 7 years ago. It was right around this time. It was around the time that the World at War beta was around. So it was either September or August of 2008, and I've been doing it pretty steadily since then. I've taken a couple like unannounced breaks that lasted way longer than they should have, but I've been back at it for about a year and a half now, and still really enjoy it, which is interesting to me because I didn't think I was going to. Like a couple years ago, I was feeling really burnt out, didn't want to do it anymore, didn't find any fun in it. And then it's funny how if you stick things through just a little bit, like sometimes you can see the other side. You don't think that you're going to get that passion or fun back, and then it just happens for some reason. But yeah, I've been in the streaming game for like 2 years now. I didn't do too much of that before. But that's kind of taken the priority for me as far as the focus goes. I still do YouTube, but it's hard to focus like a lot of time to put into being like creative and making like plans for elaborate videos that aren't just kind of like Let's Play type things. But yeah, I'm really happy with my time on Twitch so far. That's been a lot of fun. I look forward to the years to come.
I've always just thought of Twitch as just easier and just way more fun in the whole video game media and content creator aspect, because we get like firsthand contact with our viewers. That's not something you can do on YouTube. It's very one-sided in that kind of sense, except for the comment section that's usually butts most of the time.
Yeah, well, they do have a live platform now, and we'll see where that goes in like the next year or two. But YouTube hasn't typically been the case, or typically been the place to come and have like civil discussions with each other. And excuse me, I'm gonna burp. Excuse me. Oh shit! I thought I muted myself. Edit that out, would you?
Nope.
Timestamp that. You're gonna edit that out for me. But yeah, so you've been you're into comics and graphic novels and that sort of thing too, which is good because I have no knowledge of that. And a couple of the news stories that I picked for today involve that sort of thing. So it's good that we have a plethora of things to discuss. Yeah, I think we can just move right into the news section here, right?
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Actually, before we get to that, I do want to say one thing. This is a movie podcast. I'm just going to make time to say this now that Fargo season 2 is just blowing my mind. Like, we don't need to talk about it, but I would love if people that are listening to this right now, if you haven't checked it out, if you would check it out and then tweet me your thoughts, because it is like, I mean, it is top tier TV going on right now. And if you're not watching,
Like, I'm a huge fan of the movie, and I have not been able to sit down and watch the TV show yet. And I've heard fantastic things about it.
So
now that I have,
haven't seen season 1 then?
I haven't.
Oh,
I have not. I think I've seen the first episode, and I really liked it, but I didn't. I don't have a chance to watch a lot of TV shows. It's not the easiest for me to think. That's the easiest thing for me to do. But I really do want to binge watch it since they're on their second season, and I've heard so many good things about it because I love the movie. It's so good.
One of the best movies. It's one of my favorite movies.
It's one of mine as well. It's great.
Widely regarded on many people's top 10 list of all time. It's just such a great movie. Honestly, it's a TV show that I thought that I didn't even know that I wanted. Like if you would have told me a couple years or whenever before the show came out, they're making a TV series on Fargo, I think I probably would have been like a little discouraged and not really been too hyped about it, but they pay such clever homage to the film. Like in every single episode, there's some kind of callback to the film. And I love the fact that this TV show exists because it's like the TV show existing is honoring the movie. It's sending a message to people now who weren't watching maybe movies like 10, 15 years ago when it came out. It's sending a message now that this is a classic film and we want to expand this universe, and everything about it is just so good. And I suggest you all.
Does it take place during or after the movie?
So it's really interesting the way they do it. The film, I think, takes place in 1996. Season 1 takes place in 2006. And it does take place in the same universe. There are, relatives of characters from the film and things like that.
Okay.
And all kinds of like really clever ways to tie the show to the film. Season 2, they went back to 1986. And like, I don't want to spoil too much, but they're getting so like crazy with it in the best kind of way. They got a great cast this season too. Like Ronald Reagan is played by Bruce Campbell, and we haven't even seen him yet.
Nice.
Ted Danson, Kirsten Dunst, the guy who played Todd in Breaking Bad. It's just a really stellar ensemble cast, and I just wanted to talk about that real quick, and so I did. So the next session that we're going to be moving on to is the news for this week. Again, this isn't limited to movies. We can talk about video games, TV, comics, anything that nerd culture kind of thing, but it should focus on films. And the way we're going to do this is each week is I'm going to pick 3 stories that were my favorite stories from the news in the last week, and then Gio's going to pick his. And we're just going to go back and forth and bounce off each other. I'm going to lead this one off with some Bond news. Spectre's coming out this week. And this is a topic that's been in the headlines for, I want to say, like the last year and a half, the idea of Idris Elba playing the next James Bond. I guess the rights to Bond are expired after this film, and they could go to any studio. And so there's a lot of questions about who's going to be filling the roles of Bond. Will Daniel Craig come back? I think he's a great Bond.
He's probably been my favorite Bond since Sean Connery, honestly.
Yeah, he's really good. It's a shame that he doesn't like the character. He's so publicly he so publicly expresses his disdain for having to do this movie. So that's kind of a drag. Like when I go into a movie, I don't want to be in my head thinking like it sucks.
This character hates what they're doing.
Yeah. Like so that. But even knowing that, I still think he's a good Bond. That said, I think Idris Elba would be like perfect, and I think like having a black actor fill those shoes would be a step in the right direction these days. Ralph Fiennes, basically, the story said that Ralph Fiennes, who plays Q, I think in the new films, basically endorsed Idris Elba for playing the next Bond. Said, and here's the quote: "I think he's a brilliant actor. Yeah, I can see him in the role, absolutely." Which made me happy to hear that a character in the series was endorsing him.
I'm totally for this because I've seen Idris Elba in a lot of stuff. His TV show, I actually forgot the name of it.
The Wire.
The
Wire, right?
Yeah, The Wire. He has another one where he's the main character of. I forgot the name. I watched a few, like the first 2 seasons of it. But anyways, he's a great actor, and he has the personality for it. Like he is like one of the perfect James Bond actors. I have ever seen, besides Daniel Craig, and I wasn't too big of a fan of Pierce Brosnan. I was going to bring that up. Yeah,
those films are not they're not great. I've saw one. Didn't really like it all
I
that
am
much.
not. I think Pierce Brosnan is a very overrated Bond actor. As
I
they just weren't good. Like
I
he
think
didn't
Bond
feel
just in
good for the right.
I think Bond just in general is pretty overrated, but I love Daniel Craig and I love Sam Mendes,
Yeah.
and I think them together make really good things. That said, Spectre has been getting kind of mixed reviews, so I'm a little worried about that.
hmm
But I have faith, man. What's his name? The guy from Inglorious Bastards that's in Quentin Tarantino's
Uh,
Christoph Waltz, right?
yeah, that's his
Yeah,
name.
yeah, yeah. He's
Christoph.
such a great actor. That goes without
He's
saying.
fantastic in everything he is. Like he was really good in the Green Hornet movie, even though that movie was terrible.
He was in that. Yeah, I completely
Yeah,
forgot that movie
he
was
was the
so
villain.
bad. Yeah,
It was so bad, but he was the only like good thing about that movie.
he was really great in Horrible Bosses 2 as well. That
hmm
movie was hilarious.
That was great.
So that's my first news story. Now we got to move on to yours.
I won. Well, I'm gonna snip it from you because I wanted to do the Red Hood thing as well.
Okay.
There's talk about Red Hood being in the standalone Batman movie that Ben Affleck it will be writing and trying to direct. I think he's trying to get the director spot for the movie as well. There's
Allegedly?
also allegedly, yeah, he's trying to direct the Ben Affleck Black Batman movie.
Batfleck. There you go.
Batfleck. There you go. And I'm really excited about that because Red Hood has been one of my favorite story arcs to the Batman series for a very long time.
Okay, so without spoiling it for me, give
Okay.
me the rundown because I know nothing
Without
about Red Hood.
spoiling, what do you consider a spoiler?
I mean, I think I understand like the basic of like the what's his name, Jason Todd. Like
Yeah.
I think I understand like I know that he's murdered and that sort of thing, but
Okay.
I don't want to know what happens in the end.
In the end, okay, well that's fine. But yeah, so Joker murders Jason Todd, and he gets revived in the Lazarus Pit, and the Lazarus Pit.
Okay, so wait, hold on. Which one is Jason Todd and which one
It is the
Dick?
second,
Okay, so,
the second Robin.
and Dick Grayson is the first one.
Yes, he's Nightwing, I believe.
Okay, keep going.
And the Lazarus Pit is what what's his face? Can't remember his name. I'm having a brain block now. Bruce's mentor in the movies.
Alfred?
No, not Alfred.
Ra's al Ghul?
Ra's al Ghul, that guy.
Okay.
Jesus, that was bad. Ra's al Ghul uses that to revive himself and basically be eternal. But every time you use it, it kind of lessens the abilities of the Lazarus Pit and drives people crazy. So Ra's al Ghul is basically an insane person. And it kind of has that effect on Jason Todd, where he kind of loses his mind a little bit. That's why he takes up the helm of Red Hood, which was Joker's and other people's, villain name, and becomes the anti-hero Red Hood, and goes to basically just murder criminals and take down Black Mask was his main goal at the start.
Black
that's where
Mask
that-
is a villain in the Batman universe.
Yes.
And so, okay, so Red Hood isn't necessarily all bad, but he's pretty
Not
bad.
He's basically the murderous Batman. Basically, that's what his goal is. He woke up from Lazarus Pit and he said, "Batman couldn't save me. He can't save anyone. Him not putting criminals in the grave basically is not good for the city,
Right.
and he's gonna do what Bruce can't and just murder the competition and
Right.
make it so he is the one power in Gotham City."
And we've certainly already seen a nod to this being an absolute possibility in the universe in the form of the Robin suit that had been spray painted on in the
There's also the article also said that he might have like a little cameo in the Batman vs Superman movie as well.
right. That's been heavily rumored for quite a while actually. Since the movie came out, I think people had been talking about the possibility.
Like
of
I remember when there was a
fallen-
big talk about Joker actually being a different Jason Todd, because I think there is a story arc where Jason Todd actually takes up the mantle of Joker.
Yeah, that I really doubt that. Just kind of like my gut. I'm not basing that on anything. I just don't.
No, I don't
really
think it's
doubt
gonna
that
be
they
it.
would do that. What's interesting also about this story is that Dick Grayson is also rumored for the film, and that where he might appear as Nightwing.
Yeah.
So there's like, this is just. I think this is incredible news. I've been on Team Affleck since that was announced, and I love the fact that we're seeing that we might see a completely different story arc for this character. We've never seen that in the cinematic universe. I don't have a lot of experience with Batman in the comics. What I know of Batman comes from the Tim Burton and less fortunate Joel Schumacher films, and then Batman the animated series, and then obviously Nolan's films. And I've never seen this storyline. I've never, I don't know what happens. So for me being a Batman universe fan, and then here's this arc that I've never seen before, I think that's like really awesome. And Ben Affleck is such a terrific director and actor, and I think he's going to be great.
I honestly have total faith that he will do a fantastic job as Batman. Like I don't see anything that can go wrong. Like people shit on the Joker in The Dark Knight when what's his face was called for the call. I'm having a really bad time with
Heath Ledger.
With names. Heath Ledger. They bashed him for it. Like they did not think that Heath Ledger would be such an amazing Joker.
I loved him.
He has been the best Joker to date. It was fantastic.
I loved him immediately, and then I remember when they first posted the picture of him in his Joker getup, and the first time we saw him, and the whole internet collectively just went, okay, that makes sense. I knew he was going to be great too because he had that huge smile with those dimples, like I grew up watching a lot of his movies, and he's such a great actor too. And I'm really stoked on this story, man. I think Red Hood, it could be a really like fun take on Batman, and certainly a lot darker, a lot darker than Nolan's films, which I think is a good thing. People are afraid of dark comic book films. They don't want them to be gritty anymore because it's too saturated, but I still love the grittiness in the DC universe right now, and I still love like the Nolan's take on those films, and I would love to see that sort of expanded. And
a Superman being gritty, the newest Superman movie being gritty was really weird because Superman isn't a gritty character, and he kind of tried to take the whole like Batman feel and make it gritty. I didn't really agree with that, but Batman should always be gritty. Like if you ever read any of the stories, it is a dark story. Like Jason Todd was a child; he was a kid, and he got beat by a crowbar by the Joker to death. Like it is a very, very dark story.
You know what Batman I did watch was I did watch The Dark Knight Returns, the animated
that's really good.
The take on George Miller's comics, like those were really good too.
That's what this Batman in this movie is based off of,
right? Yeah,
Batman Returns stuff.
So was Nolan's Batman to a lesser extent. He said he drew inspiration from The Dark Knight Returns, and speaking of which, they're actually coming out with a third one. They're completing their trilogy. I think it's The Dark Knight Returns 3: The Master Race. Have you heard anything about that?
Wait, in the Nolan movies?
No, not in the Nolan movies. No. In the graphic novels. They're making a follow-up to the graphic novels.
Oh yeah, I heard a little bit about that. I haven't heard much about it, but I'm excited for it.
Yeah, me too.
I'm really looking forward to read that. Also, on the idea of the Red Hood, there's also a story arc called I think it's the Battle of the Cowl, and it's where Jason Todd actually takes up the mantle of the Batman after Bruce Wayne disappears.
Right. Yeah.
And he's basically kind of like the Red Hood, but he's a much darker Batman in the Batman suit, but it's like very like gothic looking. Did you get the like special ending to the Arkham Knight?
I never played it. I watched my girlfriend play it a bunch, but I didn't like having to drive around in a tank the whole time. I thought that looked really dumb to me.
But yeah, so there's that story arc, and I would recommend anyone who's listening to read that. And also you, Hutch, because it's really, really good. And you don't really need prior knowledge in the comic books to actually read it. It's one of those like offset stories that's just kind of its own standalone thing.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's a really good read.
Well, I haven't really picked up any graphic novels yet, but I've been doing a lot more traveling again these days too. So I'm certainly open to I would love to go back and watch or read through Watchmen. Like I just watched that movie again, the director's cut, the 3 hour and 20-minute version.
Such a good movie.
That's a great movie, man. I'm such a Zack Snyder fanboy. Obviously, Sucker Punch is a piece of shit, but everything else he's done, I love Man of Steel. I hated it when I first saw it. I didn't hate it. I was lukewarm, and now every time I watch it, I like it more. I don't know why, but in that same universe, UK Cinema releases description for Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. By the way, I'm getting all my news stories from a website called 411mania.com. It's a website I've used for a long time. One of my friends used to freelance write for them. A lot of really good stuff over there. So if you're looking for a good movie news outlet, There you go. So they've just released a new synopsis for Batman v Superman, and it's thrown a few people off. Let me read it for you here. Clark Kent doesn't trust Gotham's mysterious masked vigilante. Bruce Wayne doesn't trust the alien who nearly destroyed Metropolis. And Lex Luthor, who hates Superman more than anyone, is manipulating both of them for his own twisted ends. And that's what kind of threw people for a loop, is that he's actually manipulating both of them. Some people have been speculating this whole time whether or not he's fucking with Superman to get to Batman or fucking with Batman to get to Superman, and now it looks like he's doing both. Do you mind knowing these things ahead of time, or would you rather be surprised?
I don't really mind, because I don't think it really changes anything for me when I actually go see the movie, because I'll still be in my 4-year-old child awe of seeing Superman and Batman on the same screen in the movie theater. So anything I know prior to it won't really change anything. But it's really interesting the way they're doing the story, because in the actual story for this whole setup, Batman has just gone insane basically in his old age and started beating the shit out of everyone, and the president tells Superman to basically take care of Batman, and that's how that showdown ends up. So this is a really nice twist on it. I kind of like the Lex Luthor entry into it.
Right. Yeah, Snyder's been saying this whole time, they draw heavy inspiration from The Dark Knight Returns, but this is definitely their own film, and they're doing their own thing, and it's not in the same universe. So,
I've always liked Lex Luthor as a villain. I think he's probably my favorite DC villain besides the Joker.
He's pretty great. Yeah,
he's very methodical, and he's very intelligent. I kind of like that when it comes to villains. I like intelligent villains.
Yeah, he doesn't have any powers, and yet he's just supremely confident, which is pretty cool when you find that in a villain, like somebody who could go face to face with someone like Superman and not piss his pants. That lends credibility to the character. Moving on to my last news. No, you need to do your second news story.
Mine's not from 411 Mania. It's actually I actually just found this movie last night. I was just watching trailers and stuff because that's what I do. I just watch random movie trailers. And Victor Frankenstein.
Have you seen the trailer for The Revenant?
I haven't.
Oh my
What is that? I don't know what that is.
I feel like just write it. It's the guy who did Birdman. He's doing a film with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hardy about this settler who gets mauled by a bear and then left for dead after they murdered his son. And then it's fucking crazy. You haven't heard of Revenant yet? I just heard you say it's the best trailer I've seen all year. It's definitely Leo going for that Oscar. He actually slept in a dead animal carcass for the film. He actually ate I think it was raw liver. He cut open an animal and ate the liver raw. It's fucking crazy. Damn. That movie's gonna be nuts. Anyways, I'm sorry.
The cast is really good too. Will Poulter, Tom Hardy, Leonardo DiCaprio, Lucas Haas.
Yeah, it's watch that trailer after we're done recording this, and you'll send me a message saying, dude.
I gotta see that. I was watching trailers last night, and I saw a trailer for Victor Frankenstein, which I had no idea was even going to be a thing.
With Harry Potter and James McAvoy.
Yeah, and it's in the it's in the view of Igor, basically. That's my roommate.
Tell Vern I'll see him. Tell Vern I'll see him in 8 hours.
Yo, Hutch says he'll see you in 8 hours.
Oh, you guys are recording a podcast?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, Hutch, I love you. I just wanted to say I love you, and I'll leave it.
Thanks, all right, pal. He'll see you soon.
If you guys ever need a guest, I won't interrupt next time.
What an asshole. Anyways, it's told in the perspective of Igor, and I'm a huge Frankenstein fan. I've read the book. Yeah. I've seen the movies. I've seen Young Frankenstein. Mary
Shelley's Frankenstein was one of my favorite books growing up as a kid.
Heck, it's fantastic.
And the movie too with Robert De Niro was pretty horrifying too.
It was. It really was, and I love that whole world of Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman, and things like that. Creature from the Black Lagoon. So stuff from that kind of era is really, really cool to me, and I'm really excited for this movie. Like I said, it's from Igor's perspective. Really? It's a whole new kind of twist on the Victor Frankenstein story, and I'm excited.
They're definitely doing their own thing for Frankenstein, from what I understand. But I'm actually not hyped on this movie, and I think it's eerily enough because of one of the films that you mentioned, The Wolfman. The last movie, I remember trying to do a movie from this sort of genre, and I think of when I think of a movie like this, I think of Sleepy Hollow and Wolfman and a couple other things. Yeah. But Wolfman came out and I fucking hated it.
It was bad. It was really bad.
It's so not great. And like, I don't know why that movie is influencing my take on this, but it's just like those images are coming to mind for me.
I mean,
I'm
like,
not the biggest Daniel Radcliffe fan. And same goes for James McAvoy, kind of. Like, so I don't know. I'm not on the level that you are, but I respect that people are excited.
I honestly,
I think you're one of 5 people that are excited about this movie.
Yeah, probably, because I don't know. I'm very reserved though when it comes to things like this, because Wolfman was terrible. Van Helsing was kind of a shit in the bed as well.
Yeah.
And that kind of still takes place in the same kind of era with Frankenstein and things like that, and the monster. So I'm very, very reserved.
I'm also thinking of like Dracula Untold and
exactly.
Like Snow White and the Huntsman. Like all these, I hate these movies that are coming out.
Like they're trying really hard to bring that old world feel to like in a new generation stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not working. But I don't know. This idea kind of really piqued my interest because I do love, the Frankenstein story so much. So I'm hoping for the best from this and things like that. Also, I just want to point out or say something. As we're on the whole like movie news train, I watched Fantastic Four last night.
Okay, what'd you think?
I think that was actually a really shitty fan film. Is the only way I can explain that movie.
Well, here's the thing. Like, we're a little late to this. Was like, a couple months ago. This was all over but like the studio really, from what all reports, are saying, by all accounts, the studio really fucked with Josh Trank for that movie. Like, he had a completely different script, and then 3 days before they started principal photography, the studio cut 3 major action set pieces from the film. And
what?
3 major set, like including ones that we saw in the trailer that were mysteriously gone from the movie, where the Thing is jumping out of a plane and working with the government to fight terrorism or whatever he was doing there.
Yeah, that
was just cut. That was just gone. And like
that's why there was only one action sequence and it was terrible.
It was so bad. It lasted 10-15 minutes. Yeah, now there's rumors that Marvel got the rights to Fantastic Four by giving Fox the rights to have an X-Men TV show on a couple different properties on FX and Fox. I think it's Legion, and then one other one is, I can't remember the name of it, but I'm of the mind they need to just stop. Like, don't make another Fantastic Four for like another 10 years. Like, just leave it alone for a bit. Maybe a TV, like a Netflix show, I think would be great. Like maybe, maybe hand it off to them. Like, I still would love to see stuff from these characters and in that universe, but at the rate that they're going now, it's really embarrassing. It's probably the biggest embarrassment in comic book movie.
Like they've done it 3 times and they have failed 3 times with this story of Fantastic Four.
Well, if you ask the execs if they failed, they would say, well, both movies turned a profit, the first 2 ones. So
true.
Like I don't think they think it failed.
Actually, it's not even true. I think there was 2 other Fantastic Four movies before even, Jessica Alba Fantastic Four movies.
Yeah, there was one that they did that never saw the light of day. They did it literally just to keep the rights to the film. I think that was before the last one, before the Chris Evans as Johnny or the Human Torch one.
Yeah, because I remember there being I remember watching it as a kid, a Fantastic Four movie, because we had it on VHS, and I don't remember who was in it, but I remember it being equally as terrible.
Yeah, it's not great. I'm sorry you had to watch that.
It was. I took the plunge. I'm like, it can't be as bad as everyone said.
Oh, it
and
can.
It really was much worse than everyone said. Like, you can't put into words and explain how bad that movie actually was.
There won't be a worse movie this year, I don't think. In my mind,
either.
It's. I mean, that's in the running for like worst in the last 5 or 10 years. And
I completely agree. And on that note of Netflix, damn, is Daredevil good? And their superhero stuff, and the Netflix original show is really good.
Yeah, Jessica Jones. We got coming out pretty soon. That looks
really great. And they're going to be doing the whole Defenders thing, which is going to be awesome with Iron Fist and Daredevil and all that. That's going to be great.
Yeah, Netflix is killing it right now.
They can't do no wrong at the moment. They're doing really well for themselves.
My last bit of news, again, this is from 411 Mania. So Alien 5 is on hold. Director Neil Blomkamp tweeted out, Alien is kinda holding / pending Prometheus 2. So I shall be working on other things, as much as I love the Xeno and Lieutenant Ripley. So this is good news and bad news for me. Bad news being I have to wait a little bit longer for Alien 5. Good news being they're 100% doing Prometheus 2. It's coming out in December 2017. And I was like, in the 10% of people that really liked Prometheus. I thought visually it's like one of the most visually stunning and horrifying sci-fi films I've ever seen. And even with the holes in the plot that I see so commonly brought up in, you know, YouTube videos and things like that, I still loved this movie. I love Michael Fassbender. I loved Noomi Rapace, I think is her name.
I think it's Rapace.
Charlize Theron is like, she's just great in everything she does. Like I was having a conversation with my girlfriend the other day, and I brought up the fact that Charlize Theron is probably in the top 5 actors of my generation, like all of them, you know, male, female. She's always doing great stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, I really just kind of drank the Kool-Aid when I saw that movie. But I am really bummed that I don't get to see a Neil Blomkamp Alien possibly ever. That bums me out. Like if I had to pick between a Blomkamp Alien and Prometheus 2, I think I would probably pick Alien, but
oh, of course.
But I'm still looking forward to Prometheus. I guess it's Alien Paradise Lost is what they're calling it now. They're getting away from Prometheus. And I really hope that they find a way to resurrect the next Alien.
It's supposed to be a trilogy, right? Leading up to the official sequel to Alien. Like that was the idea of the start of Prometheus, correct? They thought that's what was going on.
Not to my knowledge, no.
I heard it was supposed to be a trilogy, and the third movie of the trilogy was supposed to be the official prequel to the first Alien movie.
Oh yeah, okay. I had heard something similar. Yeah, I'd heard what I had heard is that, and I can't remember what the quote was, but I had heard Ridley Scott being quoted as saying that he had envisioned 2 or 3 Prometheus films. And while they are in the same universe as Alien, and you can call them a prequel, he wanted them to have like their own life. Like he didn't want them to just be the Alien prequels. That's what I had heard. I didn't hear that it was supposed to be a trilogy since the beginning. But I'm on board with that idea. I mean, I love Ridley Scott doing sci-fi. The Martian was obviously like probably one of the best movies this year, and
yeah. I'm fully down for it. Alien was my first like scary-ish movie I've ever watched.
It's horrifying.
When I was a kid, and it was terrifying.
And there's only one alien.
There's only one alien. You don't see him that very much, but it was terrifying. Like that whole atmosphere was just the scariest shit I've ever seen as a child.
It was so good, man. I loved
it. Was great.
I loved Ridley Scott's take on Alien more than I loved Jim Cameron. Like I liked Aliens. I thought it was good, but I didn't think it was as good as Alien. I didn't think that
Aliens was more of the like Starship Troopers version of that world. Honestly, it was still good. It was a lot of fun, but I think that the scariness and the creepiness of the alien kind of left the building with that movie.
Yeah, it's like the studio went to James Cameron and was like, okay, now give us an action movie, because like the first Alien movie was a horror film. And the second one is so clearly an action film with some.
And as we all know, there's nothing past Aliens. No other Alien movie actually exists.
No.
Past that.
Actually, I don't get the joke. What are you talking about?
The ones after Aliens are really bad.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah. Alien 3. I never saw Alien 3, and Alien Resurrection is just so weird. It's just such a weird movie.
That's the one where she basically mated with the alien, right?
Yeah, she had sex with the alien queen, like lesbian sex with the alien queen.
I don't understand.
Interracial gay sex.
Like, what?
Spawning an abomination that fucked... And then Winona Ryder is like, that movie sucks, man. It's not.
Why was that even an idea? Who at the table was like, you know what? Let's have Ripley and the mother queen alien just fuck.
Yeah.
And make an abomination alien. Great idea.
Hey,
give them money.
This is why we're not in positions of power, because we just don't clearly have the vision that these directors do.
Honestly, no. We're not the great creative minds that make these amazing movies like Fantastic Four and Resurrection.
All right, Gio, what is your last piece of news here? You've read 2 so far, right?
It's not really news. It's more of, I just want to talk about it. It's the new Star Wars The Force Awakens character posters were revealed, and they all look amazing. And I just want to talk about Star Wars because I'm extremely excited for this movie, and I want to get your thoughts.
Yep, still noticeably absent. The noticeably absent Luke Skywalker. He's got to be evil at this point.
Well.
There's no way he's not a bad guy at this point.
I feel like he's been corrupted, or somehow, like him being alone and things like that have got to his head, because we've seen him in the trailer. We know he's in the movie. He's been in the trailer.
Do we know that's his hand?
Could it be? It could be someone else's, but I have strong faith that it is him because
I mean, I agree, it's got to be him. But...
they made a scene specifically to do that and show that off, so I feel like it's going to be him. He just might not look the same. Maybe he's very deformed, or
he'll be bigger with a beard.
Adventures.
You know,
yeah,
like he looks. You know, if you've seen pictures of him now, he's rocking like a fat beard. But
that's true.
You know, it's really interesting. I brought it up. I think I was streaming last night. I brought it up, but like, you can look up. There was a show on. What's it called? I think AMC maybe. But you can find them on YouTube. It's a show called Dinner for Five. The first season was hosted by Jon Favreau. The second season was hosted by Kevin Smith. And they basically just invite, it's the host and then four or five celebrities just sitting around a table and having a discussion about the industry and Hollywood and their, you know, experiences in film. And really interesting show, actually. And again, you can find most of them on YouTube. You can find an instance where J.J. Abrams is sitting down at a table with Mark Hamill, and they're having a discussion about how Mark Hamill had pitched to George Lucas that Luke turned bad in Return of the Jedi. And then they made jokes about I guess there were rumors going on at the time that J.J. Abrams and Hamill were doing something for a Star Wars TV show. So this was probably well before there was ever any talks to have Abrams come on. And I mean, just seeing that clip and then hearing all the speculation that Luke's gone evil, it's like, in my mind, I've just been convinced of that for a while now. It's just like, if you're gonna reboot the series not reboot the series. If you're gonna build a new trilogy and you want to get as far away from the prequels as you can, then Luke going to the dark side would create such a drastically different tone than the first three films.
I honestly would love that. Like, I would love to see such a like iconic, good, like for the light side, good side, whatever you want to call it, character just be corrupted gradually into becoming the best villain and strongest villain in the series. I would love to see that.
Yeah, I'm all aboard the Star Trek hype train. I was one of the lucky ones that, I was checking Fandango before it was supposed to go. The tickets were supposed to go live, and then lo and behold, they posted early on accident, and I bought my tickets like the first 5 minutes, and they were sold out within an hour. Yeah, so I got my tickets for day one. Super excited.
I was actually going to go fly to SF to see it with like Max and everyone.
I heard that actually. Someone told me that you wanted to fly out and see it.
I was going to. I was ready to buy my tickets, but the person who bought all the tickets ran out and gave them all away, basically. So I'm like, I can't go now. Yay. Unfortunate. Because I really wanted to see it with a big group of people, because I've seen basically all the Star Wars movies in theaters, actually. I think they relaunched the movies in theaters. And we went to go see. got to see them in theaters for the first time.
They've done that a couple times actually. They did it. They did it when 3D came out, and then they did it again when the sequels came out, or the prequels, and then they did it again even after that. I think it was like a year ago. They had the original trilogy in theaters again.
Yeah, so I really wanted to go see that movie with a big group. So I still might save it for maybe something groupish when you go see it. But I'm really excited.
Is there a universe that exists where this film just doesn't smash every box office record known to man? Like
it doesn't exist.
Can a film make, like, okay, so the previous record holder is what now? Jurassic World with 223 million, I think.
Did that beat out Titanic?
Yeah, that's the biggest opening ever. Was
wow, because Titanic has been the leader of that for like
Titanic
years.
Was the highest grossing film of all time for a long time, but then Avatar was. I don't know about opening weekend. I don't know about
did Avatar beat it out?
I don't know about opening weekend stuff. Like I think you're thinking of total gross sales.
That's what I'm thinking of.
But as far as weekends go, Jurassic World is now at the top with like.
I think Star Wars is going to demolish that.
I mean, how do you?
There's no way.
223 million is so much money, Like
it's a lot
good
of money.
Opening internationally for a film, like 40 million is like a good opening normally, depending on the budget. But so for a film to get I know you're right, but like I can't even imagine. Like, are we talking 300 million or 400 million here? Like, how does this movie not do twice as good as Jurassic World?
I'm excited to see what's going to do the box office. I'm just excited to see the hype around it. Like, I'm really glad there's not a lot of negativity around the actual movie
the sheer cost and loss of productivity for that first week of Star Wars when everyone's going to theaters to see it. I would love to see a study done on how much money is lost from people seeing this movie once or twice or 3 times and calling in sick to work and all that. And it's a really fun time. Like the holidays during movies is always a special time for me, and like having Star Wars come on so close to Christmas, and then like having Battlefront too, like right here, because I hated Battlefront during the beta for like the first few hours, and then I just loved it, like it was so immersive.
I was the same way. I was the same way. I kind of did not feel it for like the first hours I played it, and then I started playing it more, play a little bit off stream. I'm like, okay, you know what? I can get down with this. This is fun.
They just got the presentation like so right, like when
the atmosphere and the
Wars,
sounds,
the audio is
the
incredible.
sound design in that game is top notch. It's so good.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, man. I'm all about that. I'm all about that hype right now.
All right, good to know.
All right, so that is our 6 stories. So now, so for the third section, we normally we're gonna have guests on these things. We figured for the first time we do the podcast, it would just be you and I, so we can get to know you, listeners. But the next section, we're gonna do something we're calling Over Under, which each week we pick one movie that we feel is really overrated, and then one movie we feel is very underrated, and then we just have sort of a general discussion about that. I think we should do overrated first so we can end it on a high note.
Okay.
So why don't you kick it off? What's your overrated movie?
Okay, well, so my over-under is really like very far into the spectrum. My overrated is definitely Frozen. I'm just gonna call that.
Interesting.
Because when you first brought this to me, the first movie that came to my head was Frozen.
I've never seen Frozen actually, so I can't comment. So tell me about
it. Was like the most I've ever seen anyone on the internet ever talk about a Disney film, and it was really annoying to me because there's so many great Disney like animated movies out there, even from Pixar or just like from back in the day and stuff like that. Like I haven't seen people so up in arms and hyped about this movie since maybe like Lion King, honestly. And it was such a generic film, just a generic love story, that it was annoying. It got to the point where I was actually dating a person who was just super into it and watched it like every other day.
Exes ruined films for us, though. I'll bet you if your ex didn't love that film, then you wouldn't have such a hatred for it.
True, probably that. But no, even before that whole thing, like with her loving it so much, I still just, it was appalling how hyped up that movie got. Yeah, with people.
Even though I never saw it, it was everywhere, and I think it was even one of the highest grossing films that year, last year, wasn't it?
It definitely, yeah,
if not the highest grossing film.
It did really well. It did really, really, really well, and it wasn't just kids. Like I'm not just speaking. Oh, there's too many kids that like it. It wasn't just kids. It was adults. It was actual people with intelligent brains, and thought it was like the greatest Disney movie to ever come out in the last 10 years or whatever. And it was awful. It was really, really awful. Kind of see that happen when there are so many other great Disney movies to be had and love, and I am a huge Disney movie lover, and that's my overrated movie for this week.
You know what Disney needs back that's been missing for a long time? Like those phantom penises that would sometimes make their way into the movie. They need to have like the dirty old man artist come back and draw boners on like the
the Little Mermaid case. I still have that somewhere in my old house.
If you're listening to this right now and have no idea what we're talking about, back in the day, there must have been 1 or 2 rogue artists at Disney, because there are like there's sexual imagery just peppered throughout all these classic children's films, like the priest giving the rites during the wedding ceremony in Little Mermaid so clearly has a boner. Like there's nothing else that it could be. It's a huge pokey thing where his dick is. You have a giant dick on the cover of The Little Mermaid. You have dust making the word sex in Lion King. You have Aladdin saying, "Take off your clothes." If you turn it up real loud, he says, "Take off your clothes." To some fucking crazy shit fell through the cracks, because that shit would never fly these days. People would be fired. So there would be trials. It would be all over like The View. It would just... We need that back, man. We just
need it back. Announce who that person was?
They've never acknowledged that.
Like they never said anything. Like that man went rogue and just fucked every childhood memory of mine.
Draws a dildo on the cover of The Little Mermaid,
and it's so detailed. It is a dick.
It is a detailed, veiny, contoured penis.
And
there's
it's
nothing
it's not
else it could
trying to be hidden or anything like that. No, that is a penis on the castle in which Ariel lives. Like it's just right there.
Anyways,
it's amazing.
they need to bring that back because that's. So my overrated film is Snatch, and I have a lot of overrated films is something I think about a lot, but Snatch is a film, if you guys don't know what it is, from director Guy Ritchie. It was his follow-up to Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, which was like way more charming and funny than Snatch was to me. It did have like a really great cast and really great performances. Like Brad Pitt is obviously like kind of like blows you away with his performance of the Pikey in that movie, and Benicio del Toro is just like delightfully weird. And then you have like that Russian guy who plays every Russian in every movie ever, except the other Russian guy from like Armageddon and Minority Report. But like they had like good stuff there, but I hated Jason Statham in this movie. I don't like Jason Statham at all.
Really?
I've never seen a Jason Statham movie I liked. Not one.
Really?
And in this movie, he really bugs the shit out of me. Like, he's gotten better with acting over the years, but you can tell like this had to have been I think it was the first movie he ever did, because his acting chops are just not great. And if your lead actor can't like convince me, then you've lost me. That's the reason I don't love this movie. I don't think it's a bad movie, but I do think it's really overrated.
It's great that you actually mention Snatch, because Guy Ritchie's been my favorite actors. Favorite directors, and that brings me to my underrated movie, which is Rock and Rolla by Guy Ritchie.
Interesting.
Which
That's
is,
with what's his name from 300, isn't it?
Yeah, Jared Butler.
Yeah.
Jared Butler. And I honestly think that movie did not get the notice and hype that it actually deserved, because I actually really enjoyed that movie a lot. I've watched it I don't know how many times, and I love Two Guns and what was it? Two Barrels.
Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I'm drunk.
Yeah, that scene when they got the BB gun and they're locked in the cage is like one of my favorite scenes in a movie.
It's such a good movie. Like all around, like I love his gangster films. And Snatch, I do agree with you on all points. It's not that great of an actual movie, one of his. I think that's probably his lowest movie he's actually done. I haven't actually seen The Man from U.N.C.L.E. That's apparently a really good Guy Ritchie movie.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that yet.
I heard that was pretty average, but I was still kind of interested in seeing it. I might watch it again when it comes out.
Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed all the characters. I enjoyed Rock and Rolla, who was unfortunately Victor Von Doom in Fantastic Four.
He's a good actor too.
He's a really good actor.
Yeah, he's not bad. He was also in God, what did he do right before this one? I can't remember. Yeah, he's not bad. Young guy. He's like probably early 30s, right?
Yeah. He's really good. But I love the heist in Rock and Rolla, the two different heists. The one that was like the Terminator, with the two Russian dudes that just would not die. And
are you talking about in Snatch or Rock and Rolla?
Rock and Rolla.
Oh, you said Russian and couldn't die, and I thought of Snatch.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like the same premise, that kind of thing. But
he brought back another Russian that didn't die. Now it's pissing me off even more.
Have you not seen Rock and Rolla?
No.
Okay, I'm not gonna say anything more about the movie, but I think you should watch it. I want to know what you think about Rock and Rolla, because it's one of my favorite Guy Ritchie movies.
If he doesn't get me in the first 20 minutes, I'm not watching it anymore. It's like something about Guy Ritchie that pisses me off. I don't know what it is.
I think you'll like it. I honestly think you will personally like Rock and Rolla.
Sorry, go ahead.
Because I think it does what Snatch didn't, and I think it really it has that feel of like a really good Guy Ritchie gangster movie that Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels did.
All right, well now you're selling me a little bit. Now you got me a little curious. This is interesting. I didn't know that Matthew Vaughn actually produced Snatch. Matthew Vaughn being he directed Kingsman and X-Men First Class.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
He's going to be directing Kingsman 2, which is really exciting. It's the first time he's ever done a sequel. He's a really great filmmaker, and
he is. And Kingsman is probably my favorite action movie to come out this year.
It's up
so
there.
Far. It's one of the best.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Your underrated movie. You just talked about it, was Rock and Rolla. So my underrated, I got a little lost there. My underrated movie, I tweeted about it this week, is Road to Perdition by Sam Mendes, who Sam Mendes, if you guys didn't know, directed Spectre as well. So that's topical for this week. But Sam Mendes is He's one of my favorite directors. I've never watched a movie of his that I didn't love. Going back from American Beauty, Jarhead, Revolution Road with Leo and Kate Winslet, which is a fucked up movie with like the worst possible message about marriage, and it's starring his wife. He's actually married to Kate Winslet. And this is a movie that he did in 2002 that with one of the best casts I've seen in a movie. You got Tom Hanks, you got Paul Newman, you got Daniel Craig, you got Jennifer Jason Leigh, and then a myriad of other familiar actors that we see in lots of supporting roles that are very good. I don't know their names, but Tom Hanks plays Mike Sullivan. He's this hitman during Depression era Midwestern mobster things during Prohibition. Paul Newman plays John Rooney. He's the head of like an Irish mafia, like an crime syndicate. Daniel Craig plays his son. Some really bad shit goes down. Tom Hanks has to go on the run and flee his former employer with his son, all while trying to figure out a way to get out of it and protect his kid. So it's all about this hitman trying to protect his kid, and it's all about this kid's journey too. Of he no longer has the luxury of being a little boy. Jude Law is in it as well, and he plays just a really creepy character, just really well. The soundtrack is incredible too, and it flies under everyone's top 10 list. I don't even think it was nominated for Best Picture, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. If you guys haven't seen it,
I've never heard of it, and I love Tom Hanks stuff. I've actually never heard of Road to Perdition.
Well, this is cool now. So now I have a movie that I need to watch for next week, and you have to watch Road to Perdition.
And I will, and we'll talk about it next week.
Yeah, it's just like I can't say enough good things about it. And like, it was the first time that I had seen Tom Hanks play a character that wasn't like 100% good.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. He was in a movie called The Lady Killers, which was an Ethan and Joel Coen movie, and he played a real kind of son of a bitch. But that movie sucks, so it doesn't count. This movie, he's not a good guy. He's not a good guy. Like that, it establishes that really early on. But he's like also not a bad guy either. And man,
it's
can't
very
say
gray.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, by the end, it's not too gray, but
yeah.
You know, in the beginning, you're definitely kind of like, you know, you're used to seeing Tom Hanks in like, you know, Sleepless in Seattle and The Green Mile and playing these like really
Hooch.
Turner and Hooch, yes. Turner and Hooch. You're used to him playing this one kind of character, and then you see him with a fucking mustache and a Tommy gun and a top hat during Prohibition era, and it's like, and I love period pieces too. Like I'm a sucker for movies that take place and set in, you know, eras in the past, especially my country's past. I just find that interesting, and
yeah,
man, I can't say enough good things about this movie. That's what we got so far. So we've done our intro, we've done our piece of news, we've done our over-under. Normally we're going to be doing reader mail as well. I don't know what we're going to call that section. I imagine we won't call it reader mail, but for now, if you guys want to ask us a question, we'll pick a few of those questions and answer them next week on the podcast. You can tweet at podcast chill. That's not podcast and chill. It's at podcast chill using the, which hashtag do you want to use, Gio?
We can use hashtag podcast and chill, honestly.
You want to just do that? Yeah. So tweet at Gio and me. So at Acta Bunny Fufu, and then at Oh My God It's Hutch, using the hashtag podcast and chill with your questions, and then we can cover those next week. This one's going to be a little bit shorter because we don't have a guest, and this is our first episode too. So that's going to do it. What are your plans for the coming week here? Oh, yep, go for it.
Sorry,
yep.
Before we get into that, I just want to say that also that we want to do like movie requests as well at the end of the month, right? You still want to do that?
I forgot.
Get that?
I forgot what did I say about that? Or
we had the idea of the viewers or listeners to pick a movie for us to watch, and then at the end of the month, and then we would talk about it in the following episode.
Yeah. Okay, I remember that. That's not okay. We can do like a Twitter poll or a straw poll, or we'll talk about that on Twitter. And let them know that way. Unless you can think of something now.
I was just gonna say, just like get movie ideas in, and for the end of the month, when that comes around, we'll poll you guys on Twitter, and whatever you guys pick, we'll watch and we'll discuss it in the following episode, and you know, things like that. Yeah, I just wanted to get that out there, so we didn't forget.
If you guys have any questions for us as far as like It'd be nice if you guys picked movies that we hadn't seen yet. So feel free to like reach out to us on Twitter and ask us, hey, have you guys seen this movie? And we're usually pretty responsive about these sort of things. I'm more responsive when it comes to movie stuff than like anything else. Like I respond to people like either agreeing with criticisms or agreeing with, like, if it's movie stuff, then I'm usually pretty good about getting back to people. But yeah, my week's going to be crazy here. After I record this, I got to finish packing. I got to drive down to LA where I'm going to be doing the race to Master Prestige with your roommate and then Goldie, T. Martin, and Jericho. And then that's pretty much it. It's like when Black Ops or when Call of Duty comes out for me, every year my life just kind of is on hold for about a week.
Yeah.
Hopefully I get to, I still want to make time to go see the new Bond when I'm down there. I'm sure I will. And then there's a couple other movies that are coming out that look pretty good too. Like there's a mom and her son that were locked in like a cellar for her whole life, or the kid's whole life. And then the mom helps the kid get away. Did you see the previews for that?
I have not heard about that. What? That sounds amazing.
Did you ever hear that story of that guy in Germany who kept his daughter fucking locked in like a cellar from the time she was born and just continuously like had sex with her over the years and had like she birthed like 3 or 5 of his babies, and like I think it's inspired by like that actually. Yeah, it was a nightmare, like that she finally
sounds
got it.
Awful.
Yeah, the guy is a total monster, but I think they drew inspiration from that because this movie has a similar kind of theme. Like it's a mom and her son, and the son only thinks that the room exists. He doesn't know that there's a bigger world out there, and so they manage to escape. And then here's these two people trying to adapt to this much bigger world around them. That looked pretty interesting, and
I have not heard of that.
Can't remember what it's called, but yeah. And if you guys have any movies to suggest, then throw them our way. Obviously,
I would suggest Crimson Peak.
I saw that actually.
Yeah, what'd you think?
I liked it. I liked it. It's funny with movies. If you don't love something, you want to say that you didn't like it, and it's not true. Like I liked it. But I think I liked Pan's Labyrinth a little bit more. That's just me.
Oh, of course. I think that's his masterpiece and always will be. I honestly think he probably will not be able to do better than Pan's Labyrinth, honestly. But I really like his fantasy take on the worlds he builds, and like especially his horror films, like horror-ish films, I guess. Because they're not super horror, like surrounded by like trying to be scary. They're more just a fantasy story.
Yeah.
And kind of like a little bit of a horror setting. And I've always loved that about his stuff.
He's got a thing about young girls in houses. Like he also produced that sounds stupid. He also produced what's it called? Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, or Are You Afraid of the Dark? The one.
Don't be afraid of the dark with the little tooth fairies. Right?
Yeah, little tooth fairies.
Yeah,
I love that movie.
That's such a good movie. And like, it really is.
Katie Holmes is really great in that too. Like I don't think she's that bad. Everybody gives her shit, but I think she was totally fine in Batman Begins. But yeah, he's got like a theme about young women finding their strength and then overcoming their own shortcomings to defeat evil, which I guess is sort of the basis for every horror film in the history of ever.
It really is.
But he's got a very specific theme to it, like Pan's Labyrinth took place during what was the Spanish Civil War, I think. And, in like 1800s, and then Don't Be Afraid of the Dark was actually modern, and then this one was what, turn of the century?
Yeah. Like Victorian era.
Yeah. It was good. I thought what's his name? What's the actor's name again?
Which one?
The one that plays
Hiddleston?
Tom Hiddleston. I thought he was good. I thought Jessica Chastain was great. I think she's always great in like everything I see her in.
She's a really good like evil character.
Real good. I was surprised.
Like she does it really well. Like I really like her as an evil character, and I want to see that more.
She was a little evil in did you ever see A Most Violent Year?
No, I have not.
It's a movie. It is not violent at all. Just so you know. So if you go into it expecting a most violent movie, you're going to be disappointed. But it's about the most violent year that New York had in recorded history. It was like 1985 or something like that. And it's about this guy who runs a trucking business, and she plays the wife of the guy, and they have sort of like a corrupt thing going on where they're defrauding people, and they're not exactly doing everything legally, but they're not bad characters. But she's kind of bad in that, but kind of good too, and she does it really well. Like she plays that role perfectly.
Yeah, she did a really good job. I was impressed.
I really want to see Pacific Rim 2. I really want to see that.
I am so excited. I don't even want to start that conversation because it's gonna take too long. But I'm excited for Pacific Rim 2, and I'm excited for Godzilla versus King Kong.
Oh,
I
yeah.
cannot wait for that stuff to start happening.
Wait, is
'cause
Guillermo del Toro involved with that?
I don't know. There was also rumors about a Pacific Rim Godzilla crossover movie as well.
I heard that too, but then he said it wouldn't fit. I think he was quoted saying like that would not make any sense.
But if it did happen, I would be super excited because I grew up watching old school Japanese monster movies like Mothra, Godzilla. There was also Ultraman and things like that. I grew up watching that kind of stuff, and that's awesome to me. So a whole King Kong Godzilla movie, I am super excited about just on the whole kaiju topic.
I just spilled water all near my power supply, so I'm going to mute myself real quick and be right back. 1 second.
Okay, so it seems like my co-host has killed his computer by dousing it in water. Pro tip, do not wash your power supply in water because bad things can happen. But thank you guys for listening to the first episode of Podcast and Chill. Hopefully we kind of find where we're going to put this. We actually haven't really confirmed where we're going to put it. We thought of iTunes, we thought of YouTube, we thought of SoundCloud. So hopefully by Friday when this goes up, we will have its home and you guys will know where it goes. Make sure to follow all of us on Twitter. You can also follow the podcast Twitter as well, which is at Podcast Chill. Unfortunately, Podcast and Chill was taken, so that's at Podcast Chill. I'm Active Bunny Fufu, ActaBunniFoofoo, and I'm pretty sure Hutch is, I don't know what it is because he doesn't brand properly, at oh my god, it's Hutch. That's Z0MGITSHUTCH, but I'm sure you guys all know our information. But again, thank you guys for listening, and make sure to get your viewer questions in. You can at us, you can at the podcast Twitter. Doesn't matter as long as you hashtag it with Podcast and Chill so we can find it easy. And we'll get those answered next week. Thank you guys so much again for listening. You guys are all fantastic, and I will see you guys. And on behalf of my co-host, he will see you guys, and you will hear us next Friday. Thank you guys so much.